It's gonna be a weird day, everyone. I just need you to prepare yourself for that. I'm John Iadarola. Today is Friday, and we've got so much Brett. Brett Erlich, how's it going?
One might even argue it's too much, Brett.
Too much to Brett.
Brett, who has so much goop in his hair right now, and I am not talking Gwyneth, but I've got so much goop in my hair that I can smell it. It's like that goop that you get from Floyd's barbershop, where it's like, this is mostly cologne.
I haven't been there in a very long time. But we're very glad to have you here. So I want to know though, what is happening today on the network? I mean, we'll get to what's happening in the next hour and a half, but what's happening today on the network?
Today on the network, I'll tell you everything. Here's what's on order. So the specials first. Brett Erlich on the damage report. Ensuing program, indisputable. You got Wosny Lambre, and then also Dr. Ritchie is going to enter the bullpen and debate a conservative. Very awesome. That's right after this show. Right after that, it's Friday. Got to get down. I don't remember what's on after that.
Isn't it Galaxy Brain?
It's Galaxy Brain. I'm an idiot.
Brain. You live in Twitch. How do you not know?
I'm pretty sure it's Galaxy Brain. So after that, it's Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. You can see it on twitch.tv/TYT. Then The Conversation. You can watch that on the Young Turks channel. Right after that, we got a power panel with John Iadarola, Cenk Uygur, Abelina Sabrina to talk about what you did to him with the purple hair.
Although I think in the same way that every human rejects me with purple hair, the purple has rejected my body and is fleeing.
It's great. I wish you took a photo a day to see it receding, like the ice caps up to the top of your head, or like little patches. Anyways, so there's that. And then second hour, Adrian Lawrence and JR Jackson join Cenk, which is a lot of J's sounds. And then bonus episode right after that. You got a half hour to do whatever you want. We'll probably host somebody. But then we got Common Room today, where we're joined by Ravana and Ben Carollo. So we've got, and if John wants to jump in, he can. But I've only planned 3 so far, just to hang out and have a good time. We're gonna be answering such questions like, if you could ask everyone in America to do one thing, what would you ask them to do?
That's tough. Do you have an answer ready?
No,
I guess we have to wait. You don't answer, you just ask.
Oh, okay. I did have an answer because I did have an answer.
Okay, well, let's throw that out to the audience. What would you have everyone do? And what you should do is watch Common Room to find out what everybody says. But thank you for that rundown of what's going on in the network, Brett. Much appreciated. What's going on here is that in just a moment, we're going to touch base with the pandemic. I have good news, a little bit. But I am going to make you deal with what's going on in Fox before you get that good news, because there is some good stuff going on in Fox. Not much, but a little bit. Then we have a couple of amazing stories coming out of the Olympics, including, I think my favorite story of the week actually is an Olympic story. That's going to be coming up in just a bit. Along the way, we're going to talk about fires. They're everywhere. It's the new trend, things being on fire. And we've got some Apple, they're checking out what's on your phone. Should you be worried about it? We'll have a little debate, and we've got other stuff coming as well. And along the way, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, sharing the stream, that would be delightful. And if you want to send us a message, a tweet, a chat, anything, super chat, do whatever you want. We'll respond as we go. But that said, Brett, are you ready to jump into this thing?
Whether I am or not, you've been more than kind.
Nice, I like it. Okay. Oh, I gotta watch that again. Anyway, it's been a bit since we've checked in on Fox. Do any of them deserve credit for encouraging vaccination? Now, when we've given credit, it's needed to be taken away. So we're entering the danger zone here, but I am ready this morning to give some credit to Steve Doocey. Let's watch a video and see if it's merited.
I also saw that in Arkansas, apparently about 20% of the people who are in hospitals with coronavirus, 20% of them are children. So that's one of the things they're obviously going to be talking about. There are a lot of kids under 12 cannot currently be vaccinated, but if your kids are over 12, you probably ought to get the shot.
Yeah,
right, or see a doctor decide what you want to do. That's what usually people go to for medical advice, doctors.
I didn't go to a doctor before I got the shot.
Well, that's your decision.
Absolutely.
That's your decision, but I don't think anchors should be recommending medical advice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people have been tuning into the show for 25 years to see what we think about different things. I think if you have the opportunity, get the shot.
So Brett, now, like I said, I'd give him credit, and people are like, no, it's too late. So many people have died. No, I'm not saying he's awesome. That's not what I'm saying at all. Obviously he's not, but I'm saying that all of that borne in mind, we've got bears in our mind. We're doing that right now. Things are looking really dark, and that was better than the 2 seconds where Sean Hannity sounded like he cared if his audience died. That's the best, I think, right? I think Harris Faulkner did the ad where she said, get vaccinated. That's the clearest, but I don't know if they pay attention to the straight news programming. So was this the best? Does he deserve credit?
My problem is I have no problem with Steve Doocey. Good for Doocey. Don't drop the Doocey. That's what I say. Don't drop the Doocey. Hold the Doocey in where it is, in the foxhole. Because there's two different ways to interpret that. That's why I said it that way. So I think the problem is with Kilmeade, because Kilmeade's reason. Normally when someone says consult your doctor, they mean it in a good way. Like go see the doctor, see what the doctor has to say. But that's not why Kilmeade is saying consult your doctor. He's doing that to cover his ass so that the Fox viewers don't turn on him, because that has become code for, listen, that's what Fox hosts have devised as the easiest, most convenient way for them to avoid responsibility for what they're very obviously, to everybody else, doing on their network, which is giving extra credence to this anti-vax nonsense. Yeah. He's saying it in line with what else happens on that network when they go to commercial break and they're like, go get Valjance, put Valjance over your body, and Symbicort. Do you have a sniffle? Get Symbicort, talk to your doctor, but get Symbicort. Like that's what they're doing, and it makes total sense. At least it's consistent. It's just wildly infuriating.
Yeah, you're totally right about the ads, but also I think Doocey, he pushed back against their cowardly, well, I'm just a host, I shouldn't give advice. Which, if that was actually your position, a consistent position, sort of a core part of you as a host, then it would suck considering the stakes right now. But at least you would be consistent. They're not. Okay, they have never hesitated to give you advice about every area of your life, including in medicine. Like they were not objective and neutral and disconnected from everything when it came to hydroxychloroquine and things like that. And few on the network were. And even if they were, like we know that is not the only way that you influence an audience, that they come out and say, do this or do this. That's not how it works. I could never tell you whether you should do a thing, but if I just do story after story about how it's bad, or how the people who are doing it are sheep, or about how patriots should have more questions than those people, I've never said what you should do, but it's clear what I think, and I'm clearly influencing you. And they do that. They do that in medicine as well as in everything else. And so at least Doocey is telling people they should get vaccinated, saying it's good for kids after. Look, let's keep it real in terms of the context. Fox and Friends has downplayed young people getting COVID as much as anyone else in this country. But he's also saying it is not wrong or weird to provide advice to people when the stakes are death.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, I agree. It's very frustrating, and that's exactly what they're doing. And what's even more frustrating, and this is something that I think I might be part of my answer on Common Room tonight. People who haven't heard the promotion of it, Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/TYT. If I could ask everybody in the world to do one thing, is just hold up a card or make a signal when you're only doing something because you're being crappy. Like, there's something that you gotta do. Like, there's a thing where you say bless their heart, where it kind of indicates that you're about to crap on someone. Like, bless their heart, but they're an evil person. Can you just say, like, I'm just being a hypocrite here, but I'm going to now, like some kind of caveat ahead of time that just indicates to me that yes, you're just saying the next thing to either feel really good about yourself or continue a hypocritical hatred that you have to someone else when you're doing the exact same thing as them. Or in this case, like you're just trying to appease an audience that you've misled and now have no control over.
Yeah.
Like just say that, like I'm just here to appease you. and stroke your sad, fragile ego about this thing when you know and pass the buck along to your doctor. I mean, that's different. And he's not doing it for like legal reasons. He's doing it for rhetorical reasons, and I'm pointing him out for it.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, if your excuse is going to be, go speak to your doctors. Okay, so you do think that medical experts' opinions matter, but only when it's a local person going to their local doctor disconnected with anything. Like they're not. What are they interviewing the head of the CDC every day? I mean, they respect doctors, so why aren't they talking to doctors? Why aren't they bringing doctors on? Why are you putting it all on your audience? When do you do that? But in this case, we got to be very careful and everything. Anyway, yeah, obviously I'm not a fan. Doocey, I look forward to you figuring out a way to make me regret everything that I've just said, probably in the next 8 hours or so. But that said, let's turn to some good news. We have been talking a lot about this upcoming wave of COVID. The numbers are rapidly rising in terms of cases and hospitalizations. Deaths are up as well, thankfully not proportionally to the cases yet, although they are going up. But that said, it has been depressing to cover this coming wave because it really does feel on a daily basis like none of it matters. The thought leaders on the right, the unthought leaders, are not really changing their behavior aside from Doocey, I guess. And so it seems like it's wasted effort, but there is reason to believe that is not actually the case. So recently, some of the states hardest hit by the pandemic, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, and Oklahoma, are administering vaccinations at a rate not seen since April, according to the response coordinator for the White House COVID-19 task force. Over just the last day, there were a total of 864,000 vaccines administered, the highest since early June. During the same period, 585,000 people received their first shot. So this is not just people finishing it off. It's more than 500,000 people deciding now to finally start the process of getting vaccination. And that individual, Jeff Zients, says, for the fourth week in a row, we've increased the daily average numbers of Americans newly vaccinated. And importantly, we're seeing the most significant increases in the states with the highest case rates. Now, unfortunately, on that list, we don't see Texas, we don't see Florida, but a number of states that have very high per capita rates are starting to get vaccinated, which implies that as disconnected and frustrating as it can be, Brett, it seems like some people are paying attention.
Yes, and I like to give people the benefit. I hate to give people the benefit of the doubt, but if I don't give them the benefit of the doubt afterwards, I don't like myself. And that's really all that matters according to my kindergarten teaching. So I want to give people the benefit of the doubt in this situation. Maybe they're earnest when some of them say, I want the FDA approval before I do it. I don't want emergency use authorization. I want FDA approval. And then there have been reports about the coming FDA approval for a lot of these things. So if that's the case, maybe that's why people are coming around to these vaccinations. Maybe the people who said, I just want to wait and see what it does to folks to see if there's a problem. Maybe those folks are now coming around. And then there's a lot of people, and I don't want to forget the core of the anti-vaccine movement, which is wildly misguided, and that's how that starts. So maybe they're the remaining anchor on this. I saw something about vaccine hesitancy coinciding with the reduction of the advertisements put out by like whatever it is, the ad council to tell people to get vaccinated. I don't put much credence into that because it might just be the case that they stopped when they felt they'd reached everyone who was reachable. And then that's about when you stop advertising for something, like after the season's over. And then maybe they just cut their losses and the only remaining people are vaccine hesitant. Everyone else has already gotten it. So it's not like, that's one thing.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
One
other thing. Move on. Let it go.
So they keep saying it's not FDA approved, even though emergency approval has been given. So supposedly we are not far away from the actual approval for one or all of these vaccines. So all of those who've said I'm not going to take something that's not FDA approved, what percentage do you think are going to feel good and confident as a result of FDA approval finally coming?
My earnest response is a percentage number, and that number I will respect for being at least consistent. And the rest will, as they always tend to do, click or either shift conveniently to some new justification for doing the thing they were always already going to do anyway, and never acknowledge that that's what they did.
Yeah, I fear that too. I wonder what the number is though. Can't wait to find out. Anyway, let's move on to other news. Sparks continue to fly over at Fox over not whether you should advocate for people to take the pandemic seriously, but even if you acknowledge how bad it is. And look, you go to war with the army you've got, the champions you've got, and I guess the champion we've got is Geraldo Rivera. So we want to show you a recent blow up that happened between him and Dan Bongino about how bad Florida is experiencing the pandemic right now.
Tuesday in Florida, there were over 16,000 new COVID infections. Yesterday, Wednesday in Florida, there were nearly 17,000 new. Sean,
DeSantis
please
saved every older person. He used every state agency. No, this is not bash Ron DeSantis. Dan.
Geraldo doesn't, about Ron DeSantis, he doesn't know the numbers. I live here. Florida's 26th in COVID deaths per 100.
Dan, it's Dan's
Geraldo, it's not my fault. You never know what you're talking about. It's not my fault that you never research anything before you come on the air.
You are so full of it. You know, that's why I hate coming on with you.
Folks, please look it up to prove how silly this guy is.
This guy,
Geraldo, let Dan talk.
Geraldo.
Dan.
He doesn't like to do that, Sean, because he always gets caught never knowing what he's talking about.
Facts.
And he's embarrassed.
Stick to the story.
And his position on the border. I did stick to the facts.
I'm embarrassed to be on this air with you. That's why I'm embarrassed.
You never know them. And then it's unbelievable. And your position on the border.
Do you want to bet me $1,000? You want to bet $1,000? You want to bet that? You want to put your money where your mouth is? You want to put your money where your mouth is?
Love to have a democracy. Anyway, so I don't know that Dan Bongino ever agreed to that bet, but he was at the very least saying that Geraldo was wrong. Not just that he was wrong, he's wrong because he refuses to do his research, implying that other people do their research and know what's up. So, Brett, how do you think this story ends about the facts that Geraldo was talking about there?
Well, if it's like all the times that Geraldo told me the paternity of a child during his talk show, then I think it ends with Geraldo bringing the facts and having been accurate.
It turns out you're right, and Florida is the father of a pandemic. So he tweeted, Tuesday, Florida suffered over 17,000 new COVID cases. On Wednesday, another 17,000 new cases. I was right. Dan Bongino, as usual, was full of blank. And he owes me $1,000. Speaking of bull blank, popular Governor Ron DeSantis better stop gaslighting and pay attention to his afflicted state. So let's bring up more information about the way Florida is going, because it's even worse than it was when he argued with that gym sock on air. We've got 18,121 cases yesterday. That's more than doubled from 2 weeks ago. Hospitalizations are up 116%, breaking records every day. Deaths have more than doubled, still low, thankfully, because they are right about one thing. Most older people in Florida have gotten vaccinated, but Sean Hannity's desire to say that that's Ron DeSantis descended from the heavens and made sure that everyone took vaccinations seriously has less to do with DeSantis's actual performance and more to do with the fact that I think Sean Hannity is looking to be influential in some future Ron DeSantis candidacy for the presidency.
Yeah, my favorite stuff about Ron DeSantis is when he goes out there and he's like, we haven't had a single. First of all, he looks like my buddy. Did I say this last week? Ron DeSantis is a plush toy. He looks like a plush toy of a child. He's like a mix between a grown-up. He's the grown-up child actor who played a plush toy. You know, he's just like kind of overstuffed, and he tries to be tough, like but he's still got trappings of what it was like to be like, a really, really important young man.
But is he the beaver?
He tried to spike the football the other day of saying, I don't want to hear a blip out of Joe Biden.
It's like Ted Cruz being tough.
Yeah, exactly. No tough guy says the word blip. I don't hear a blip out of you. He's bad.
Did I sound tough when I said bull blank? Yes, yeah. But few can.
I don't know how does he do it? But I just want to say this. The tap dancing BS, like trying to dance between the raindrops on COVID that Ron DeSantis has been doing is absolute theater, and none of it bears out in reality. He tries to claim credit for not having mask mandates, when right now, Orange County, Broward County, Miami-Dade County, these are millions and millions of Floridians who have a mask mandate. So it happens. So those mask mandates are contributing to any kind of fight being put up against COVID. And this guy will claim credit for it in the long run.
Yeah.
And then he'll do this kind of weird thing where he's like, I'm all for it. I'm doing things to stop the spread. You'll hear Bongino jump in and be like, for the old people, he's protected some old people by using a state agency. But in his own logic, using any state agency is a bad thing. Keep the government out. And then he just tries to flex and be strong when he gets called out and do an impression of Trump, which he can't because he's still that he's got too much nerf inside him. He's a nerf governor.
I like it. And as they said, they said that they're 26th in deaths. I will assume that is true. First of all, that's a weird thing to brag about. So you're narrowly in the bottom half. And second of all, we can look at your position, and you can then try to say, and thus you can't say anything about Ron DeSantis. I can say, okay, well, you ended up in the middle of the pack. And by the way, big state, big population, which means middle of the pack means a lot of deaths. I could say, and so what if you had taken it seriously, which you very much did not. You got the benefit of the fact that a lot of cities had limited lockdowns, as Brett said, mask mandates, things like that. You sort of skated by on refusing to actually be a leader there because you didn't want to offend right wingers. You didn't want to be seen to be taking it more seriously than Trump was. So would you have been 26th if you had actually had a spine? I almost said something else. If you'd actually had a spine, probably not. You probably would have done better. And that could have resulted in thousands of Floridians not dying. Now, really fast, I want to show you one other thing though. So Florida's obviously really rough. Let's go to this vaccination graphic. You can see 80% of seniors in Florida are vaccinated. That is good, but still, so you're 1 out of 5, 6 months into this, more than 6 months, 1 out of 5 still aren't vaccinated. And they're getting all these bad cases with half of the state vaccinated. And that really tells you how bad, how transmissible this is for people who are not vaccinated. But that said, if you want to see where it's doing really bad, let's take a look at this next graphic. It shows a regional breakdown for cases, and then it breaks out Louisiana. Louisiana, in the last 7 days, has had higher per capita COVID cases than ever before in the pandemic that we've seen. It is doing terribly. And that's the place, by the way, you remember that video we showed you yesterday of Marjorie Greene saying, that they're the least vaccinated, and everyone's like, woo! Well, that's how you get that. You get a chart like that when you're the least vaccinated. Anyway, any final thoughts, Brett, in this story?
I haven't had a thought since this show started, so I haven't had an initial.
I appreciate you still pushing through and talking though.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Pleasure.
Okay, so with that, we are gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna check in with the Olympics. Some crazy stuff has been going on, and we'll break it down after this. Okay, everybody, we're back. Brett, have you seen Beck Bennett's Mike Lindell impression?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's pretty good. Anyway, okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Had to take a short little break, but we're here now, and we want to welcome to the fold over on YouTube new members: Michael, BPD Dragon, and Nova 17 Gaming. Thank you for becoming Tier 1 members, getting access to your badges and your emojis. Over the super chats, Benjamin Matthews says, John and Brett, what should I do? After a long week at work, I come home and my wife is wearing my only Dragon Squad t-shirt. Wait, or is wearing only my Dragon Squad t-shirt? I thought the issue was that she'd taken a shirt you wanted to wear. It sounds like you're setting up for some sort of weird fan fiction TDR.
Do it.
I don't know what's going on.
Make wanton the night, consummately. I encourage you to have sex with your wife. So earlier when we said we don't think
2 wings, I don't know.
Normally I agree with Killmeat. I don't think we should be telling people what to do, except in this case, when I think you should make sweet, sweet love to your beloved. And even if you don't love her anymore because you're married, just you owe it to God.
Fake it till you die. Exoteric Dragon says, hi, John and Brett, particularly nasty garbage today. $5 for Tums for trashy, poor innocent can man. I'm not gonna say who my garbage person is, but I will let you know, I tried so hard to find a replacement and I couldn't. So you got that coming for you. Shenamax says, Mike Lindell's the drunk uncle no one invited to dinner, whereas Brett is the drunk uncle that people do invite to dinner. So that's weird. David Lucero, thank you for your super chat. Chad Rath as well. No messages, but thank you. Todd Chisholm has a response to Brett's question about if you could ask all of America to do one thing. Todd says, I would ask everyone to stop using single-use plastics.
Oh God, that's way seriouser than mine.
That's a good one. Right now, probably get vaccinated. I don't know. Give Game of Thrones season 8 another try. I don't know, one of those 2 things. Anyway, Franklin Sharpslicer says, using anti-vax to reduce the vote, but they're Repubos, we might know. Wonder if it occurred to them, even restricted votes will be the Dem. Kinda a bad way to see, so be it, so mote it be. We're gonna see, I don't know. A lot of stuff, Frank, thank you for that. They're manipulating the vote in a lot of different ways. I'm not sure this is gonna offset it, and I wouldn't want it anyway. Okay, so Samuel and the Kind Dragon over on Twitch gifted a tier 1 sub. Fat guy named Tiny gifted one as well, awesome name. Trekkie Nurse Dragon gifted one too, thank you to all of you. Blue Heart hit 16 months, says love you guys and thank you for your thoughtful commentary and journalistic integrity. Thank you, Blue Heart, that's very nice of you. A lot else going on Twitch. We will check in when we get to our next break, but we are owed some Olympic news, so we're gonna jump back into it after this.
I'm a pillow.
Could people hear that? I wonder. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Anyway, Brett, ready to talk some Olympics? Brett, have you been watching the Olympics at all?
No, I haven't. I know what happens in them. John, I think we need to invent new sports because only recently, I don't know, something about this go around. I haven't really been as titillated as normal with the sporting. Frequently, I'll be every 4 years, I'll be like, I'll watch diving.
Yeah, they added
this year. I'm like, I don't.
Sports. That's not good enough.
I am 39 years old. I've seen a lot of Summers Olympic, and I've never been. I haven't gotten any better at looking at how big a splash is and going, that was a better dive.
Yeah. So you don't watch gymnastics? That's what I'm getting to with this. You don't watch?
No, I don't watch gymnastics.
Okay, well, I'm done with you.
All right, do it.
Anyway, maybe what the Olympics needs, Brett, isn't new sports, but drama, international drama, like a 24 situation. Well, I've got that for you. I also have a really smooth transition for you, and we're in the middle of it, and I lost it. Anyway, let's talk about it now. I want to give you some updates on a story originally talked about last week, and that has to do with a Belarusian Olympian named Kristina Simanouskaya. I believe it is, Brett. I'm not sure if you have a better pronunciation on that, but we knew that she was seeking not to return home after criticizing those in charge of her team and believing that she was under threat as a result of it. Well, we have a lot more information about the form that those threats came in, and this is really scary, dark stuff. So bear that in mind, but fascinating that something like this would be happening at the Olympics. So a reported recording has emerged of her speaking with 2 of those in charge of the team, and we're gonna give you some quotes from it. But what we do know is that not long after the conversation we're about to show you, The sprinter fled into the arms of police at Tokyo airport. Belarusian officials were trying to force her back onto a flight to Minsk. On Wednesday, after 2 days holed up at the Polish embassy in Tokyo, she was back at Narita to take a flight to a life of exile in Europe, which we'll give you updates on. So she is now, at least for now, safe. But the feud, I want to catch you up, began when the 24-year-old runner who thought that she had entered only into the 200 meters race in Tokyo discovered that she had been put down for the 4x100 without anyone from the team consulting with her. Fearing disruption to her medal chances in her main event, she posted a video on Instagram criticizing the team's coaches. Now, she quickly took that down, and notably, she never criticized the country or the regime or anything like that. But that said, the two men, this is Belarusian chief athletics coach Yuri Moisevich and Artur Shumak, came and spoke to her about the criticism. According to the transcript of that recording, the two men first try to reassure her that if she comes home without a fuss, all will be fine, that it will be forgotten as a youthful indiscretion, and she will be able to resume her athletic career. She says on the transcript, "I think this won't end well for me." Okay, so we're gonna get to more, and the threats become more explicit and as dark as anything I can imagine. But first of all, Brett, what do you think about that?
I mean, anytime you have a story about the Olympics and you start asking questions about it, it's not too dissimilar from the NFL, where you start the thing that was designed originally to just be some happy escape, where people who otherwise hate each other would put those discrepancies aside, end their feuds and move on, now is causing you more stress because now you know anything about the corrupt and horrifying underpinnings of the institution.
Yeah.
And this is one of those where every time when Simone Biles said that she was gonna kind of step out, I was like, come on, buck up. And then people are like, she won gold medals with broken toes. And other people, when you're hearing about 80s gymnasts who were forced to perform even though they knew they would hurt themselves and ended up hurting themselves because they had the twisties or whatever affliction, they were just told to power through, to the detriment of their team. Like, then I realized, oh gosh, I can find other things that can make me happy. I can watch reruns of Jeopardy and be happy. You know what I mean? I can watch old clips of the Olympics, and someone could tell me this is for. I watched a Katie Ledecky race and was over the moon about it. And then later someone was like, yeah, that was from Rio. And I was like, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give you something that might not be fun to watch, but you do need to know it. It does get dark. Someone in the chat was like, it's a nice family you got there. That's sort of the fear here. But anyway, here is what happened. Team officials warned her that if she did not go back, then everyone will suffer. The entire team could be ruined, with Shumak saying, through your stupidity, you could end up destroying people's lives. Again, because she put up an Instagram video criticizing the coaches. Here is what Moisevich said. Humility makes a person. Get over this. Put aside your pride. Your pride will tell you, don't do it. You've got to be kidding. And it will start pulling you into the devil's vortex and twisting you. That's how suicide cases end up, unfortunately. The devil grabs them and says, you have to prove it to somebody, so jump from a balcony. Oh, how they'll tear out their hair and later lament that they drove you to it. And you know what's the funniest thing? The people will say, well, that idiot could have lived. She didn't prove anything to anyone.
That's not about it. That's not how any of that goes.
That's crazy in a lot of ways. And that's just a gilded, we're gonna kill you and we're gonna make it look like suicide.
Yeah.
Because this sprinter criticized them. She just wanted to run 200 meters as fast as she could. And they're threatening to push her from a balcony, which, by the way, I mean, there's a lot of people who have jumped off balconies over the past 5 years or so, suspiciously. But anyway, they're threatening to make her the latest to do that. And so I can only imagine how terrified she was going to that airport, apparently realizing that she could make it to the police and they didn't realize it. So that was the only thing that saved her, was that she made it to Tokyo police and went into protective custody, because she was terrified that if she went back, the best case scenario would be that she would be institutionalized for the rest of her life. Worst case scenario was that there wouldn't be much of the rest of her life there.
And how about this? It seems like, there is a fine line between being on an Olympic team and kind of being forced into labor. There is, once she's in that situation, and this underscores it. Like, people hyperbolize and seem to be hyperbolizing when they say, listen, you give your whole life to this thing, it's no longer for you, you're doing something for the country, and there's a bunch of pressures from everyone. This is pressure of life and death, and we're gonna like really hurt your family. And add to that, what a lot of people do in order to get into the reason that they get into the Olympics is to get something better for their family, to get a better life. And because she wanted to do better in her chosen event, and they forced her to do otherwise, in her opinion, in what I would consider an expert opinion, to the detriment of everything else, of her country and her team. At the end of it, it's gonna make life much, much worse for her. Even if she does do the thing that ends up being better for her, which is not going back to her country.
Definitely not. Yeah, I want to give you a couple more quotes from her because I'm incredibly brave. Want to give her the credit. First of all, a reminder, totally unrelated. NGO chief in Belarus found hanged in Ukraine was a story from a few days ago. Just putting that out there. So as of, I believe it was yesterday, Christina had an interview. She said, grandmother called me when they were already driving me to the airport. I had some 10 seconds. She called me. All that she told me was, please do not come back to Belarus. It's not safe. She went on to say, they did not expect that in the airport I can approach the police. They think that we are scared to make a move, that we are afraid to speak, afraid to tell the truth to the whole world, but I am not afraid. Although I would have been. But anyway, she did make it on a plane eventually, going to Vienna. It is believed that she will eventually make it to Poland. She was originally going to go directly there, but they were worried that the plane would be routed to Belarus, as another was not that long ago. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure she's terrified for her family that remains in that country. It's just devastating. As someone pointed out on Twitch, looking forward to Tucker Carlson's week of programming in Belarus soon. But anyway, yeah, just terrified. You don't expect anything like this from the Olympics, but we have a country filled with broken, corrupt, despotic regimes, and they ruin everything. Anywho, okay, well, it looks like I'm being asked to go to the second break. I love the thematic block, but it looks like we're gonna have to break it up. Anyway, we are gonna go to a short break. We come back. A bit of good news coming out of the Olympics after this. We could have fit it. We could have done one more and then done one.
John, you're not in charge here. You have no power here, John.
Clearly, I went to break.
Marissa has note cards with the number of minutes on there. They're very easy to read, and
I'm getting a text message from my grandmother saying, "Don't go against Marissa."
It will not be safe. It will not say. It will not be safe.
Anyway, okay. Let's see what's going on out there. Phoenix Flame became a tier 2 member over on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. You get access to the top 10 list there. Dawn Martin became a tier 1 member. Thank you so much. I haven't checked to see if we got the new emoji slot, but we got to get the purple emoji in there. Okay, let's see. Let's jump right to Twitch. Captain Jacas subscribed for 12 months. Says a damage report certainly makes identifying easily fixable areas easier. Thanks, John, for all you're doing. Thank you, I appreciate that. Platinum Yeti subscribed for 11 months. We're getting more and more of those like on the year mark ones. Very few 16s those do still really stand out. Mother effing Woman Dragon gifted a tier 1 sub, much appreciated. T-0 subscribed for 7 months. Thank you for that. Kanzai Chick for 8 months. Thank you. Osborne over on Twitch says, crazy stuff about Olympics. The way the New York Times and others count medals, they go by totals And by this, USA is number 1. The official way to count is gold medals have priority over silver and bronze medals. And by this, China is number 1 and USA is number 2. I've only really watched on TV, and I feel like they usually do both of those counts. Yeah, I know we all want to be competitive or whatever. I mean, obviously you should do gold medals per capita, really, if you want to make it fair, but we're doing fine. We're doing fine, even if every one of those medals angers the right wing in a weird way. Brett,
so weird.
If you were in the Olympics, what would you want to compete in?
I would always, the only one I ever want to do is the biathlon. The biathlon's
the skiing and the shooting?
Yeah, ski and then shoot. It's like
you just want to be a bad guy in a Bond movie.
Like the decathlon is like run, jump, throw. Like those things are all what can you do strongly. And my favorite thing about the biathlon is it's like, okay, what are the 2 least connected things in the universe? Oh, well, obviously, if you've skied, you should pull out a gun. It is training to become a Bond henchman.
That's all
in
it is.
The 80s.
No, what it's doing is it's training you to be me if you could ever get me to ski. Because I would be in an environment that I just naturally would expect bears.
Yeah.
And so I would have one of those little sticky things and then one rifle. That would be how I would have to do it.
When you find out what it is actually brilliant though. Because the skill for the biathlon is, can you exert a lot of energy and then immediately do like fine motor skills?
Yes, it's a great idea. Yeah,
so good.
By the way, Brett, I want a future top 10 list for TDR to be top 10 Brett's ideas for new Olympic sports. You want new Olympic sports? You said. I think you can come up with some good ones.
All I want. There's some amazing sports around the world. Like there's a whole Afghanistan sport where they just, you're gonna hate it, vegans beware. But they just like transport a goat places.
What?
They pick up a goat and they try to get it on. They're on horses and they pick up a goat. It's like polo, but instead of a ball, it's a goat.
I'll try it. I'll let you know.
Caber tossing.
Anyway, we are out of time, so we're gonna do that top 10 list, but we could actually do it as a top 10 list. Anyway, we got more news to close out the hour. I'm just gonna keep going. We'll see you in a little bit.
Height competitions.
It's time sensitive. Anyway, people want they want to see Plunkerton. That's a good one. Anyway, okay, with that, we do have a little bit more on the Olympics. Why don't we jump into that? We've got some good news out of the Olympics. Well, good news for most people. For some, they're going to greet this news as the apocalypse that they've seen coming. And that is that a Canadian football player is set to become the first openly trans athlete to receive an Olympic medal. And I believe it's gold. I think it's set that it is going to be gold. So this is the athlete is Quinn, who goes by just one name. It says as of this, will either win gold or silver. I believe it is gold after Canada beat the US women's national team in the semifinals. Last year, the 25-year-old publicly announced they are transgender, non-binary, and would use they, them pronouns. This is a midfielder who has played for the national team since the age of 16. Imagine being a 16-year-old representing your whole country in competitions like this. But anyway, has previously spoken about the importance of LGBTQ representation within sports. Quinn said, athletics is the most exciting part of my life and it brings me the most joy. If I can allow kids to play the sports they love, that's my legacy and that's what I'm here for. And you can see a picture of Quinn there. We'll have a little bit more, but yeah, so I know that this has been one of the few things about the Olympics that a lot of right wingers have really gotten fired up about is how dare they allow trans athletes? And as of this Olympics, which has had a lot of records set and first set, we've acknowledged many on the show, Brett. Quinn becoming the first openly trans athlete to get a medal and to get a gold at that.
No, I'm against it because someone on Fox told me to hate those things. Congratulations to Quinn on, spoiler alert, clinching the gold medal.
Hey, I have all the gymnastics events spoiled, so now I'm just gonna spoil everything. I don't care.
Cool, that makes sense. You're a damaged soul.
I'm a good person.
Anyway, pay it forward, John. But yeah, I don't know what anyone's complaining about. This is not the exact. I love the like. Well, what's the specifics of their transitness? is it biologically born a woman? And now you're not going to hear a lot of complaining from the right wing, I don't think, on this, because they'll be like, at least they were born biologically female. That's it.
I have no idea what they're going to say.
It's very difficult to win a gold medal. It's a team sport, and congratulations.
Yeah, so Northern Ice Dragon says Quinn didn't do it alone. They were part of a team. No, I get that. The team is awesome. Congratulations to the Canadian team. Yes, thank you to the team.
The fact that any soccer team can score goals. Congratulations.
You have to run so far to score a goal. I don't think it's worth it, honestly. But it is. But this is good. And yeah, so I just wanted to get out a little bit of that positivity. It's awesome for Quinn and for the rest of the team. Congratulations to, I'm gonna say, US got silver, right? I think so.
No, we got bronze.
We got bronze. Oh yeah, Still that's still good. Good. And anyway, now we're gonna enter into like the Daily Wire just erased their whole rundown. They've wiped the whiteboard clear. It's just this for the next week. Those people who are so tired of leftists getting triggered by things and losing their mind and being too sensitive, their entire reality is melting down around them right now because Quinn is gonna get a gold. And isn't this like, I'm gonna read a message for you and I have a point. So this is a message from Quinn saying coming out is hard and kind of BS. I know for me, it's something I'll be doing over again for the rest of my life. As I've lived as an openly trans person with the people I love most for many years, I did always wonder when I'd come out publicly. Instagram is a weird space. I wanted to encapsulate the feelings I had towards my trans identity in one post, but that's really not why anyone is on here, including myself. So that post and the previous comments about representation, wanting to be a good role model, the difficulty of coming out, caring about your feelings and acknowledging them, that's getting dangerously close to woke territory. And I was told that wokesters lose, woke makes you lose, you can't win. That's what they've been saying. And this incredibly woke team just got gold. Weird.
Gross. Canada. That's what we all should be upset about. I want them to be disqualified so we can get silver. And that's what the Olympics is all about.
Yeah.
Disqualifying people. Dude, my friend was like on the track to become an Olympian and he went to like for America and went to like a training place in Lake Placid, New York. And when he got there, he was like 8 in whatever sport. And then there was a doctor who's like, hey, I can help you out. And he said no. Apparently a lot of other people said yes, because like in a week, he was like 20th in Bob's whatever it is.
Yeah.
The sport.
Yeah. Let's really fast before we move on to our last story. I do want to acknowledge there has been other history-making trans athletes at this year's games. So earlier this week, Laurel Hubbard made history as one of the first openly trans athletes to compete in the games, but exited the games after she failed to register a successful lift. Laurel had been competing for New Zealand in the 87 kilogram weightlifting category in Tokyo. This is beyond my knowledge of both the sport and the metric system, but she failed to lift 120 kilograms and 2 failed attempts at 125 kilograms, which I'm doing quick math in my head. That's a lot. So, I watched the response on the right to that as they were so mad that Laurel was competing at all. And then when Laurel failed to win, which they always predicted would be the inevitable conclusion of all of this, is that you would only ever have trans athletes winning because they're cheating. That's what they say. Then said, like there were posts from some right-wing pundits that have like 1 million followers that was just laughing at Laurel, saying they cheated and they lost. So it doesn't matter if you do well or don't do well. They're gonna find a way to make you the villain and them the awesome, superior people in this.
That I think that is one of the central themes of the last 10, probably at least 5 years. It doesn't matter what happened or what my logic indicates I would conclude. I just want to feel a certain way, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to feel like I've satisfied at least this very low bar I've set, and sometimes not at all, for what is a good justification for me feeling that way at someone else's expense.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we're gonna go on to a very different story, but before we do that, I wanna remind you that while there's a lot of awesome content coming up, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, what you should be preparing for right now, coming up in not that much longer, something like 40 minutes, is Indisputable over at youtube.com/indisputable_TYT. You've got Rashad Richey, probably fresh off the high of Dr. Rashad Richey Day being declared in his state. How awesome is that? He's gonna be going live with Wosny Lambre as his co-host. Charles Love will be coming on for a debate, so that should be a lot of fun. It's coming up in not that long. I mentioned, I think it was in Brett, I think it was in our production meeting for TDR, that I'm doing a rewatch of Frasier, and there's this whole episode about Frasier Crane Day being declared. So like Rashad is at Frasier level, basically. That's how I would put it, and will put it from now on. Dr. Rashad Richey is basically, for political commentary, Dr. Frasier Crane. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Do a rewatch of Indisputable too.
I will. And to do a watch of Indisputable today.
Yep.
Okay, with that, why don't we jump in this last story? We got a few minutes, I think we can do it. Right now, California and the rest of the US and the rest of the world are experiencing a lot of devastating wildfires. We're gonna talk about a bunch of them, but we wanna focus on one, and that is the rapidly growing Dixie fire, which increased in size last night and now covers over 400,000 acres. It grew by 110 square miles last night alone. That's a lot of territory in one transition from Thursday night to Friday morning, making the blaze the largest wildfire currently raging in the entire country. It has already consumed 433,000 acres. That's 71,000 acres in one day. The bootleg fire in Oregon had previously been the nation's largest active wildfire at 413,000 acres. So a lot of competition. The horse race is getting really exciting in the fires, but obviously we're joking, it's devastating. The fire right now is only 35% contained, expected to still grow. We talked about it yesterday briefly and mentioned that at that point, it was the 6th largest wildfire in California history. It moved up to 3rd overnight. That is just devastating. And obviously there are many. I mean, we're gonna bring up a picture right now. You can see what this individual 400,000 acre fire is. And you'll also see that there's a ton. But Brett, this is what our state looks like. I mean, it's Northern California. We're not really close to it or anything like that, but this is devastating. It's not impossible that it could become the 2nd or largest ever in state history.
Yeah, at least I have the bootleg and the Dixie. I box that exacta, so whether it's 1 and 2 or the 2 and 1, I still get the return on the bet. Like I still win that bet. You have to bet twice as much, but at least I'm the winner, as all the wildlife and people over there utterly lose. And yeah, that feature on Google Maps is just in Google Maps. Like you don't have to be looking for wildfires. If you were looking on, I was like, where is this city? And I just tried to find it, and you zoom out and it's like, here is a wildfire. Here's a giant wildfire just off to the side. It is difficult, and I've lived in California all my life. And as a result, like we always have some kind of fire danger. But as evidenced by the size and the record-breaking nature every single year, you can feel, and it's true that things are getting worse. And there's stuff that we need to do. And I think that stuff, I speak for all of us, is just rake the ground.
I think it's been really irresponsible that they refused to do that. We were given that advice, and we regrettably did not act on it.
I've been rakish for years, but I never thought to rake
a regular rake. Yes. But anyway, so the conditions that led to this, that we can potentially do something about, although it's a little bit more complicated than raking the woods. The timber, grass, and brush in the area was described as so dry that one fire official described it as basically near combustion. Like he thought it was so dry that it might burst into fire itself. And so, yeah, when you have a state and a country and eventually a world that's basically about to spontaneously combust, fires will spread rapidly. Now, I wanted to zoom out a little bit just for a minute. Let's take a look at the Pacific Northwest and some of the surrounding states. You'll be able to see the Dixie fire there. and so many others. The Cedar Creek fire, South Yak, Thorn Creek, the Bootleg fire, the Monument fire. I mean, it's all over the place. And I also, we don't have time today for a Meanwhile In, but if we did, we would talk in depth about the fact that the Mediterranean is on fire as well. It's become a recent wildfire hotspot, with Turkey being hit by its most intense blazes on record, and a heat wave producing a high risk of further fires and smoke pollution around the entire Mediterranean. Greece has something like 100 wildfires burning right now. Italy is experiencing fire as well. This is, I guess, a little bit less shocking than when the Arctic was and still is on fire. But yeah, it's all over Western America. It's around the Mediterranean. Everything seems to be on fire, and we're really not acting like it.
Yep. It's a great image. People talk about like, oh, run around with your hair on fire. And the reaction that you get from a lot of people, it is also one of those like, the numbers get so big that it no longer registers as an increase. Yeah. We just experienced that a lot with COVID. You're just like, yes, it is bad. Good point. And I don't know how to fathom it. I don't know what 100,000 acres overnight is like. I can't fathom 100,000 acres. Like how much? It's what, 40,000 square feet. So it's like a small it's like a half of a block. 100,000 times,
and in a few hours. No, I can't conceive of it either. But anyway, I think we have time really fast. I want to go to this video because let's go really fast. The drought. Let's talk about it.
The Alegria Inn now pays to truck in water so guests can take a shower.
Right now it costs $600 for 3,500 gallons.
And that lasts you about a week, you're saying?
That's lasting us a week.
To conserve, they douse flowers with dirty dishwater and bought lightweight sheets for guest beds.
You can get more of them into one load of wash, and you can cut your water use significantly.
Most people across the United States cannot imagine a situation where they turn on the tap and no water comes out.
Yeah, it's frightening. There's a scenario here where people will run out of water.
Yeah, so look, sometimes it causes fires, sometimes it causes situations like this. People, they're saying people can't imagine it. Well, yeah, let's fast forward a few years and see if more people across more states are going to be able to fathom it at that point. But remember, this is going on with the backdrop of the fight over the infrastructure bill. Are they going to do something about the climate? We're being told by multiple senators that we can't afford it. Inflation's a bigger threat. I want you to bear in mind what's going on right now in California and in other states throughout the region. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this first hour. So if you're on one of our linear platforms, thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate the support. But if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, we've got a lot more news as well as our garbage people of the week. So stay tuned. You can find out who those are after this. Welcome everybody. Let's see what's going on out there in the audience before we jump back in the news. Marty Hunt with a cryptic message saying, "Love Hot Mic Fridays with Brett."
I don't know what that means.
You do. Tyler says,
"Yes,
Brett,
I'm hot, but my name is Brett."
It's Brett. You could be a Mike. You could be a Mike.
My dad was a Mickey. He was a Mick.
Close. Pretty close. Yeah. Tyler says, Brett, the My Pillow guy bit in the pre-show is golden. He wasn't on the pre-show. The pre-show was just me. It was like an hour ago. Please comment.
He was on with us. He was just talking to you and me before the show started, John.
Oh, there you go. Cujo says, Games Workshop is releasing some cool Dragon Rider figures, and I wanted to paint one for you, Brett, JR, and Fran. You want the purple dragon? That would be awesome. I'll take that. Thank you.
Nope.
Let's see it. Jan says, shout out to the TDR crew behind the scenes who are obviously carrying these two goobers.
Goobers?
No.
So
they
John,
I did not get credit.
I did Adam Carolla's podcast once, and here is all I remember from it. He was complaining to me about the Hammer getting some weird rating from the MPAA, but he goes, I don't understand why people like Raisinets. You want goobers, that's what you want.
The goobers like raisin with chocolate on it?
It's a peanut with chocolate. And he's like, well, no one likes raisins, people want peanuts. I just remember sitting there waiting for him to be done.
So you had the experience of the audience members.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Gator Dragon says, I'm late, but MTG was in Alabama, not LA. Yes, I posted messages about that, but thank you for that. When she gave her speech, our governor has put in place a mandatory indoor mask mandate for everyone over 5 years old. Okay, that's good. Yes, so you're right. She was in Alabama, not in Louisiana. That said, Alabama, not as hard hit as Louisiana, but still pretty hard hit. And we now on Twitch have a poll asking goobers or Raisinets. I'm gonna say Raisinets. I mean, not to tell you how, I'm not giving advice. I know that you tune in to get our opinion. I'm not giving you advice, pushing you in one direction, but anyway.
Okay, gubernatorial, goobers, Raisinets, or One Direction? That's the question.
It's a music.
You said One Direction, and then
Anyway, Nicole Smith says, so tell me why the pipelines have to be used for oil. Oh yeah, money. We could decide if we care to pipe the floodwater to put out fire and combat drought. I don't know anything about the logistics of that, but I would be fine with less pipes overall. Let's see. Robert over on Twitch says the biathlon trains you to defend yourself in the real world ski free. Yes, I know that they have military units in some countries, blah, blah, blah. Buff Dragon subscribed for 9 months. Thank you for that. The Hentai Senpai Dragon, gifted a tier 1 sub. Thank you. Stars View gifted 5. Thank you, Stars View. Insomnia Noir gifted 1, much appreciated. Big J subscribed for 6 months, says love you guys for speaking truth. Love JR, the man is a genius. He's not on, okay? You look at us. You look at me and Brett.
I love JR.
It's
50-50 right now in goobers versus Raisinets, and the lead has been a changin'.
It's so tight. Okay, well, Dino Boyer subscribed for 10 months. Thank you. Reddish 5 for 8. You all are the best. But with that, I think it's time for us to talk the news. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, you might still have a couple of minutes to vote. Community tab on YouTube. Now we're gonna do this thing. But anyway, let's jump back in the news. So what happens when you run afoul of corporate vaccination requirements? Well, apparently you can actually lose your job. CNN has announced that they have fired 3 employees who violated company policy by coming to work unvaccinated against COVID-19. Although I have a question or two, which we'll get to, but apparently this has happened. Jeff Zucker, the media company's president, told staff members of the firing in a memo sent on Thursday that reminded them that vaccines were mandatory if they report to the office or out in the field where they come into contact with other employees, saying, let me be clear, we have a 0 tolerance policy on this. So most of their offices are already open on a volunteer basis. Zucker said more than a third of new staff members have returned, and it says that proof of vaccination has been left to the honor system, but that may change in coming weeks. So that does lead me with wondering how they've already adjudicated this to fire 3 people. If proof of the vaccinations on the honor system, it seems to imply that they must have said that they were not vaccinated. I don't know. There are details I don't understand. But 3 people have lost their jobs. Brett, what do you think?
I think you should have an option to work from home if you want to work from home, period. If you can't work from home and you need to come into the office, I think there's sufficient information. It sucks that I'm gonna go into like a legal liability standpoint. Like CNN, it will be sued for liability if they allowed knowingly people who were more at risk to contract that virus and therefore spread it to come into the office. And so if I'm CNN and I'm running like that department, I would make a good faith effort to find places for people who are vaccine hesitant and making sure that that's earnest what they want while not violating any kind of HIPAA rights. But I don't think it's wildly crazy for CNN to have a vaccine mandate for people who are going to come in the office and interact with other employees. The same way that your school asks for a vaccine, proof of vaccination, when you're coming into the school potentially to spread or contract measles or mumps or rubella on their campus. Like, I fully understand that. And what's strange about that is that turns into more of a like conservative argument, because now I know there's a difference between like the publicly funded institutions, but this is a privately funded institution. And so that private institution can have this. I don't see how it violates anything, especially because it's in line with other places where you have these kinds of protocols for ensuring that people have undergone some kind of base level protection to shield some company from liability.
Yeah, I think that the liability thing obviously like it's law, but no, I think it's true. They don't want people to die, obviously. I mean, let's acknowledge, we try to acknowledge our biases. Brett never wants to leave his house again, certainly does not want to come back to the studio. So I feel like that has influenced his commentary here.
I don't care. I would say it's like saying like, listen, what if Subway shirked the sneeze guard obligation? Like Subway has a sneeze guard so you don't get your gross germs directly on the lettuce. You have to sneeze, as I do, you sneeze toward the vents, which blows it back onto the lettuce aggressively.
Okay, don't eat at anything don't go to Sizzlers with Brett. But anyway, yeah, look, I think of course they're gonna have a vaccine mandate at a place like CNN, and they're gonna become more common. So I would get used to it. I think that we might debate it on the main show a little bit later on. I do think that for now, an option to work from home, if the job allows it, and I feel like for a lot of them it probably does make sense, but yeah, people's lives are on the line, so I would get used to it. But that said, we do have to roll on. We are rapidly running out of time, so very quickly, let's talk about this. Apple has released a new feature, that is going to be scanning your devices, your Apple devices, for images of child sexual abuse and automatically reporting them if they are found, and that is of course leaving people with some concerns about how that might be manipulated and all of that. The tool is called Neural Match, which sounds like a dystopian corporation or possibly the next thing you're gonna have to be on if you have any hope of wanting to meet someone. So anyway, it's gonna scan images before they're uploaded to the company's iCloud Photos online storage, comparing them against a database of known child abuse imagery, which presumably exists somewhere. That seems weird that someone's just got a massive collection of child abuse and pornography, but I guess they're gonna say it's for good cause. Anyway, if a strong enough match is flagged, Apple staff will be able to manually review the reported images, and if child abuse is confirmed, the user's account will be disabled and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children notified. So, Brett, when they say child abuse, I don't know exactly what they mean. It doesn't seem like they just mean child pornography. It seems like they're looking for certain things happening to the child. Maybe they have a log of children that are missing or something like that. It's not immediately clear, but what do you think?
I mean, it's weird that you're going into people's phones and automatically scanning images. Like that's the part where, like, I feel like there's other ways that you could. To search for anything, you need probable cause. You can't just be searching people's phones. There's no cause. Like that is a very integral part of your constitutional protections against things. this is one of those, I don't want the foot in the door. I think there's,
really fast, can I say what I think their excuse will be? It's that it's being scanned before it goes to iCloud. So I think they would say, as part of us hosting it, we want to make sure that we're not breaking the law. I think that's probably what they'll say.
Well, that's fine. I think that's okay because you're using their service and they don't want to be held liable as someone who uses this, who facilitates this kind of thing. That's totally fine. And I just don't want, at that point, I would say if I were litigating this and I'm not a lawyer whatsoever, I'm just a user of Apple. They need to have some kind of, so then you get into things like what's a reasonable burden for people, for a reasonable person to understand. I clicked iCloud once. I clicked iCloud once and I shut off iCloud after that, but it still says your iCloud is full. We just put everything you've ever had into the iCloud, but I did not opt into that. So I don't want that. It is not clear to the user in any way, shape, or form the extent to which the iCloud option is real and what it does. Not to mention trying to undo any of that. Like I can't do that because I just don't want them to keep interrupting me all day, telling me that my iCloud is full of gorgeous images of selfies of me.
And I have that with OneDrive. Yeah, and your old relative is gonna have no idea of how any of this is working. So, and look, scanning for this, I think some people might think, well, yeah, I don't want child abuse. So, but like again, not everything needs to instantly become a slippery slope conversation, but I feel like it wouldn't be that difficult to expand the bounds of what they're searching for. So anyway, there's a lot that is not answered in this yet about what will actually be done, the legality of it and everything, but there's definitely something to look to because if Apple starts doing it, other phone companies probably will too. Anyway, that said, we are rapidly running out of time. So Marissa, you let me know when we're good to go. We are good to go? That was fast, okay, let's do it. Well, it's the end of the week and so it's time to take out the trash. Okay, these are our garbage people of the week. Brett, what have you got for us?
I'm not an anti-Kirk Cousins guy. I don't mind Kirk Cousins as a person, but sometimes someone says something that is so stupid and it becomes garbage person worthy. And so Kirk Cousins is about to say that he is refusing to at least disclose whether he got vaccinated or not. He thinks this is a hill to die on. This is a very religious, conservative guy. Ironically, it's a hill to die on. But look at him kind of convolute everything. And the last thing he says is just so perfectly ironic when he's saying the protocols he's going to follow to avoid getting vaccinated. So listen to Kirk Cousins.
It was disappointing to miss practice. In my entire college and pro career, I have not missed 4 practices. So to miss 4 practices in 1 week, and not have COVID was frustrating, disappointing. And as I said to Coach Zimmer on the phone last night, I said, we can meet in the indoor, we can meet outside. And I said, if it means meeting outside under a goalpost in January, if that's what it takes to get to the playoffs and be in playoff games and win playoff games, and that's where we're going to meet. I think the vaccination decision is a very private health matter for me, and I'm going to keep it as such. I do believe that as a leader of the team, it's very important to follow the protocols to avoid this close contact, because that is what it's going to come down to, is did you have a close contact? And so I'm going to be vigilant about avoiding a close contact. I've even thought about, should I just set up literally plexiglass around where I sit so that this could never happen again? I've thought about it because I'm going to do whatever it takes.
I'm going to do whatever it takes. In his mind, does not involve taking the vaccine. This is a guy, and it's like, I think that's a very private matter. Well, they're going to tell people if you got COVID, you're already submitting to a COVID test because that's mandated. You're not going to get the vaccine. You're not doing whatever it takes. Let me just tell you some stuff about Kirk Cousins. And I didn't mention he's a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, which you saw. Kirk Cousins is such a morbid fellow that outside his front door, he has, you ever see like a picture a thermometer, like a big metal tube or a big glass tube, but instead of mercury and all that stuff inside, he's got a 3-foot tall glass tube, and he has evaluated how many years he has left. And for each like 5-year period, he puts a stone in that. And to remind him how little time left he has on the earth after every, maybe it's a 5-month period, after every 5-month period, he removes a stone to show how little of his life is left. Like, so he can thank God for every moment. Like, God gave you the vaccine, buddy. And I'm fine. Like, I don't even have to go into the like, I'm going to advocate for the vaccine because of its effectiveness. His own logic structure meant that he was going to do whatever it takes to make sure that he didn't miss a practice. And he'll go to the extent that he'll, during the practices, put plexiglass around him. But he won't take the vaccine?
He'll Pope-mobile, but he won't. I'll do whatever it takes, except for the one thing. Yeah, so obviously when you say I will do whatever it takes, you do not mean I'll do anything. But there comes a point when leaving one thing out that's like 90% of what you should do means you shouldn't use the expression. Like, if you're standing on the edge of a pond and there's like a puppy drowning in the pond and you're like, we're gonna do whatever it takes to save that puppy. And then you walk away from the pond, like,
right, except swim to it.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not gonna go get the puppy.
Listen, yeah, I'm gonna go talk to every puppy in the city and tell them, stay away from that pond.
That is not how it gets done. You're right.
I will not become a puppy. That's what I'm gonna do. I might swim in this pond later, but when I do so, I will not be a puppy.
I will be a human. Yeah, it's funny. I almost chose this as my garbage person because it's obviously specific, but it's just so, come on, dude. Think about what you're saying. Anyway, good garbage person.
Thank you.
For my garbage person of the week, I'm gonna do something that almost never happens. I chose this garbage person and then I spent, I don't know, Marissa, what do you think? 30 minutes trying to find a different one because I did not want to talk about this. This is a talk show where we talk about things. Arguably, the only skill I have to the extent that I have it is that I talk about things. And I'm gonna try, even though this did end up being my garbage person, I don't wanna talk about it. I really don't. I'm gonna tell you what it is and then we're gonna dabble in it, but I don't wanna talk about it. My garbage person of the week, if we can bring up an emblematic article about it, is going to be Tucker Carlson for his broadcast from Hungary and his just complete whitewashing of the regime of Hungary, what it's done, but much more importantly, why he's doing this, what lessons he wants the right in America to take away from it. And I couldn't choose anything else because this is just too bad, but that does not mean that I want to talk about it. Read articles like that. Let's bring up the headline again. I want you to go to those articles and I want you to read about all the reasons it's bad and all of what Orban's done and how they've taken over 90% of the media and how they technically have elections, but they don't count for anything. That sort of competitive authoritarianism is what Tucker Carlson, the right, wants to set up here. Let's still have elections. So it seems as if we have a democracy, but have those elections have no meaningful bearing on who wields power and the chance. There's no connection between what people want and the government they get. That's what Hungary has. That's what they want here. And it's one thing for Tucker Carlson to do it. It's abhorrent for him to go to Hungary and talk about how awesome they are when a show like his couldn't even exist in Hungary unless the government allowed it and gave it its sanction. But then, there's people that are pushing back on him and criticizing him, but there's a lot of other people who should know better that are refusing to do so, refusing to get that he is not doing this because he just loves Hungary. He's a Hungrophile. He just wants to give him like a little tip of the hat. He's doing it to bring it here. He's going to do that. That's the government he wants. Whether Tucker runs for office and becomes that fascist leader, or whether he just continues to support the ones that are here right now, that's the point of it. And we will not survive this as a country unless we are unified in identifying it and fighting back against it. but not a lot of people are doing that, unfortunately, who should know better and who should understand the stakes here. That said, right now, I don't want to talk about it anymore because I am so sick of him and all of his BS. I'm sick of the fact that he can throw out things like the FBI did January 6th and the NSA is trying to cancel my program. And then I'm good, I'm just gonna move on. I'm just gonna throw that out there and then that's it. People defend me and then I'm just gonna pretend that I never said that. I'm just sick of so much of it, Brett, but that's my garbage person.
If we had an Orban style country, the NSA could cancel his show.
Yeah,
it could. So Tucker, for your own logic and all those schmuckos who pretend that like at least I am pro censorship or whatever, which is BS, you won't be finding that. Like, dude, your own logic against you is you advocating for a system where if the government doesn't agree with you, you have lost 90% of your ability to access it, and the other 10, I'm sure, doesn't even really have any bearing on it. He chased a university out of the country in Hungary.
Orban did, yes.
Orban did. Things just like your refresher course on Viktor Orban is basically when you say in America it's weird that we get 50% plus of the vote goes to a presidential candidate and he doesn't win the election or she doesn't win the election. Multiply that by 1 million and that's Hungary.
Yeah.
That thing where it's like, how did the Democratic senators get, 40 million more people voted for Democratic senators and yet there are more Republican senators? That's times 10 is what it's like in Hungary. When they say competitive democracy, it still makes it sound like it's competitive. It's not. It is fake election BS. Like he got less than 50% of the vote for his party and ended up with like 65% of the parliament. Like that stuff, gerrymandering times 1 million is that style. And that's exactly what Tucker wants.
It is. And we're gonna,
because he's a white supremacist.
We're gonna pretend that it's not, that maybe we should work with him. Maybe he's reasonable or whatever. Let's do another write-up in like a glossy magazine about how he's really thinking differently than other right-wing pundits. No, he's not. And the goal is the same. And we're just gonna roll into a primary where he's gonna be the candidate, and then the same people who aren't gonna be checking him now are gonna be saying, well, maybe it's not so bad if he becomes president. Actually, maybe that's the shock to the system we need as we transition to never having competitive elections again.
And tell me what to put. Tell me what to put says how's Hungary still in the EU? Well, there's like a subset of Eastern European conservative countries that kicked Hungary out. They're like, they went crazy.
Okay, well, look, those are our garbage people, but we also had you vote for the community garbage person of the week. And we actually had 2 posts combined, had 44,500 votes. Now, with 2, you might think, well, which one are you going with? Actually, while the percentages are slightly different between the 2 posts, the ranking is exactly the that actually still works. Coming in at number 5 with just 3% of the vote, Alexander Lukashenko for generally being tyrannical. Really, just 3%? That is crazy. Anyway, coming in number 4 with 7% of the vote.
Too long, didn't read.
Probably.
The name is TLDR.
Representative Jim Clyburn for negatively affecting the Ohio 11 race. That's a good one. Number 3 with 11% of the vote, you have Andrew Cuomo for not resigning over sexual harassment claims. So not that critical on Andrew Cuomo there. Coming in number 2 with 12% of the vote, Kevin McCarthy for threatening violence against Speaker Pelosi. I mean, I didn't like the joke either, but is that worse than the sexual harassment? You guys, I don't understand always. But number 1, I definitely understand. You really wanted with 64 to 8% of the vote, Ron DeSantis for contributing to the rise of COVID in Florida. Not a lot of debate in the community right there. Not fans of Ron DeSantis. So thank you for everyone who voted. Close to 50,000 of you did. That's your community garbage person of the week. Brett, as always, thank you for joining me. I know you're gonna be doing a Common Room later on. Everyone should definitely stay tuned for that with Ravana and with Ben as well. So thank you, Brett.
Bless him, thank you.
Bless him. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna be leading the first hour of the Young Turks, the Power Panel with Cenk Uygur and Abelina Sabrina. You're not gonna wanna miss it, but until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
Now, I done told y'all, good things come to those who wait. Let me apologize. We had a technical glitch. The team at TYT has worked that out. Now we are live right here, and I'm glad that you all waited. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day, the big homie, Wosny Lambre, host of Wosnia, 10 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesdays. That's on Twitch, and host of Woke Bros and writer for The Ringer. We're going to get to him in just a minute. Let me remind everyone to make sure you join us on the YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Watch the program there as well. We are at 160,000 subscribers on that channel because of you, because of every single one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, my top news story of the day, Donald J. Trump, his PAC, is now issuing Trump cards. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Trump cards, because they are squeezing more money out of individuals. This is part of politics, it's part of campaigning, but I want to bring your attention to two really significant things about these particular cards. The golden loyalty card that Donald Trump wants his supporters to carry with them as part of his latest fundraising effort misspells the word official, okay? Let me bring up a picture of these cards. All right. So you will see that one of the cards actually spells official OFFICAL, which FICAL is fecal, even though I know it's spelled a different way in real life. But you get the analogy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to also pay attention to another picture because it looks really similar to Nazi symbolism. Here it is. Well, I'll be damned. Isn't that something? Okay. The one-term president's Save America Political Action Committee has emailed his supporters, giving them a say in the design of the red and gold card, which has been ridiculed on social media. I'm just going to put my money that the one that looks like the Nazi symbol is probably at the top of the voting list right now. I'm just putting my money there if I were a betting man. To talk about this and a lot more, we got the big homie Wosny. What's going on, Big Wos?
I'm good, man. I just want to tell the people we are always on time. All right.
That's right.
News is still on time. You know, as far as 45 is concerned, this is just another in a long string of shameless grifts. The guy is just a grifter. Everybody around him is a grifter. The campaign in 2015, 2016 started out as a grift. Like Donald Trump understood that running for president raises your visibility, raises your popularity. You know, when he thought he thought he was gonna lose all the way up until election night. Like this guy was just like, all right, I can start a network, I can do this, all the way up until he gets elected and he's having foreign dignitaries stay at his hotel. Like the office was just another grift. His real estate business was a grift. The countless bankruptcies, not paying contractors, et cetera, was a grift. This is just another one of the, hell, Stop the Steal was a way to keep fundraising going. As you know, they were sending aggressive fundraising emails all throughout Stop the Steal. That was just another way to siphon money from his hapless supporters. This is just par for the course for that brother.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. You bring up two very relevant points. One, his election was a grift. It wasn't even a con in the traditional sense. And I understand why people say it was a con, but a con would assume that you actually tried to win the presidency. You weren't trying to win the presidency. According to multiple reports from inside of his camp, he just wanted to increase his popularity in order to get a better contract with NBC. He was just as surprised as a whole lot of people that he actually won the damn thing because it was a grift. I think what will end up happening, brother, is that you're never going to get away from these extreme Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. They are going to be here. They will remain here even after Trump is no longer here. you will have individuals who believe that he is some kind of deity. Hell, you got people following him as an occult leader this very moment.
Yeah, it's obvious that he still has a lot of supporters and loyalists just by GOP rhetoric from party leaders and people who want to aspire to become part of the leadership and establishment. They echo so many of his sentiments. They would never go against him in public, which to me just shows you the power and the seduction of his following, right, amongst the right wing. So just by tracing their actions, somebody like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is so far out of anything we would consider to be reasonable or just a normal human being and their behaviors, you know what she's following. When she tests, when she does one of these, which way is the wind blowing, she knows which direction it's blowing. It's still blowing towards the direction of 45 and that disastrous regime.
Yeah, and it also shows that a lot of Americans are silly as hell. And I know people don't like me talking about other Americans that way. Why? Why? It's a reality. If you're willing to still support this individual who engages in behavior that you would not accept from members of your own damn family, but you will accept from him, you have a problem. Okay, shifting gears. The DOJ, finally, they are opening a civil rights investigation into the Phoenix Police Department. They are utilizing a little known and rarely used method to do this. They need to do it more. We covered something that happened in Phoenix not too long ago on Indisputable. I'm going to bring that video back to your attention. This, in my opinion, was a straight up murder. This is graphic. I warn you first. Here's that video.
Phoenix Police. Have you done it? Whoa! Put your hand down!
Damn.
That was so sad. They shot him in the back. Now, to remind you of the context, according to the police, a neighbor called 911 saying there was a domestic disturbance at that apartment. There was no domestic disturbance. Him and his wife, they were playing a video game, and that was it. They were just playing a video game. He answered the door. He had his gun in his hand, not pointing at anyone. He had his gun in his hand because someone had been knocking on their door late at night, playing games at their home. So he exercised his constitutional right, and he was a good guy with a gun. And this good guy with a gun answered his door because he thought this was someone else doing what they had done before. As soon as he saw the police, he submitted to their authority immediately, and then he was shot in the back. The police, they actually lied about what happened. They gave a different story, even lied to the damn woman that came out crying, wondering why is her man down on the ground with bullets in his back, okay? Never was a domestic disturbance, and the gentleman never tried to harm anyone. Now, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark for the Civil Rights Division, remember we worked hard to get her approved, announced today that the Justice Department has opened a pattern or practice investigation into the city of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department. Let me explain what that means. That means this is not about one particular incident. This is about a collection of incidents that they are now saying too many, too much, and we're coming. There's more. The investigation will assess all types of use of force by Phoenix PD, including deadly force that you just saw. The investigation will also seek to determine whether Phoenix PD engages in retaliatory activity against people for conduct protected by the First Amendment, whether Phoenix PD engages in discriminatory policing, and whether Phoenix PD unlawfully seizes or disposes of belongings of individuals experiencing homelessness. Wow. Just an update from what you just saw in that video. The Phoenix Police Department will move forward with plans to fire the officer who fatally shot 40-year-old Ryan Whitaker in the back last May. A department spokesperson confirmed that. Obviously, we're looking for that officer and anyone who lied on that police report. All of them should be held to the highest standard of accountability and be arrested, charged, prosecuted. Big Waz, that was a hell of a thing to watch, right? But the federal government is saying that's not even all of it. There's more, and we need to investigate.
Yeah, it's disturbing, honestly. Just full disclosure, I actually try to avoid police shooting videos nowadays because, you seen one, you kind of seen them all, and they're all equally as disgusting and galling. But I've literally watched that for the first time just now. And, what really struck me, Doc, is that when they knocked on the door, they moved away from the peephole. They weren't in the line of vision of the guy's peephole. They were standing off towards the side. So you knock on the door and you say Phoenix PD. How is he supposed to know that it's actually you guys if you're not standing in front of his peephole? And so when he comes out, he sees that it's the cops. He immediately surrenders and they shoot the dude anyway. To me, that just tells you about what their practices are, right? Like, obviously, you're supposed to be identifying yourself. How can you identify yourself if you're not in the guy's line of vision? That shows me, first of all, the dude who shot him was clearly a fraidy cat, scared to death, scared as hell, couldn't even stand in front of the man's door to identify himself as a police officer, and he wasn't even facing you. He was facing the other guy, put his hands up, and was like, oh, shit, okay, oh, shoot, excuse me, I'm done. And man, that's just galling, honestly. Yeah. That's criminal behavior. At the very least, it was reckless and should be some type of manslaughter charge. At the very least, that's just scary. And it's nice that the federal government is going to investigate these cats because that's unacceptable. And the last thing that I will say that we don't talk about, I don't know the economic background of the man who was shot, but I'd be willing to venture a guess that he's probably of a lower class. And generally speaking, that's who the cops shoot at across the board, across races, across genders, is always people from economically less, rich people. That's just what generally ends up happens in police shootings.
Yeah, and the evidence here is clear that the man should be alive. Clear. And the officer in front of him did not shoot. If anybody would have been in danger, definitely not the cop behind him. But here's the culture reality. All of them initially lied. See, that's the culture reality. All of them initially lied. Let's say, for sake of argument, this was a mistake. You were negligent, you were wrong, and somebody's dead, but you did not maliciously intend for that to happen. But your cover-up is criminal. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You lied to the wife. You lied about what happened. You engage in this culture of corruption. And no matter what now, I do not give a damn if it was a mistake at this point. You covered up the unlawful killing of another citizen. All right, we got more on the other side. This is indisputable. Stick and stay.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the U.S. population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day. We would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug. I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging. Watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man.
I can see the voice.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted.
Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's a fantastic story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. It's Indisputable. Okay, we got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get to it. TYT member Craig Souffle says, the Trump card, it's a fecal. Yeah. YouTube super chat. Jim Alderberg says, true time. That's right. Thank you for that. New World Global Community says, happy Friday. Love you both. Congrats on the show, doctor. Thank you. And thank you as well. I appreciate that. Uh-oh. I got my girl Kelly O'Hara. Kelly drops poems. So let's see the latest one. Too many cops blow their tops when they fear mic drops from the gen pops for being career flops as they make needless stops, causing countless teardrops. Bars. Bars. Okay, that's very good, Kelly. Pat Pylon says, just have to congratulate you, Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Appreciation Day, great work. Keep fighting the good fight. Well, thank you for that, Pat. Yeah, Fulton County, which is Atlanta, they named August 4th Dr. Rashad Ritchie Day. Very thankful for that. Doesn't change anything between me and the county commission. let me tell you what's so interesting. People got a real kick out of it because I routinely put my foot up all of their collective asses on a regular basis on the Fulton County Commission. I've even shut down various commission meetings with protesters and my own protests when they were about to make a silly vote. I was just as surprised as anyone when the chairman's office called me and said, we're naming August 4th Dr. Rashad Ritchie Day. All right. AC says.
That's fire.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. All right, Dr. Ritchie is putting it on for us. The only gig in town right now. Thank Black Jesus. I need my news, man. Thank you. Izzy Omega, Twitch. The cops continue to point guns at the partner, telling her that they're not going to shoot in 5 seconds after shooting her boyfriend for no reason. That's right. So after they shoot him, they have their weapons on her. And they're saying, we're not going to shoot you. Well, put the damn gun up. Why do you still have the gun drawn on someone? All right, next story, ladies and gentlemen. Black family refused service. Now, according to the restaurant, it was because of attire. Women were allowed to wear tank tops, but men were not allowed to wear tight clothing that resembled a tank top. So a young man traded shirts with his mother, which should satisfy the dress attire. Here's what happened.
Hey, y'all, our restaurant just said we can't get in because my brother got on a muscle shirt. So my mama finna give him her shirt and she gonna put on the muscle shirt. I have on a tank top. She has on a tank top. There's tank tops on in there. They say tank tops are okay for girls, but not boys. Oh, we're giving him a shirt. People can with us all weekend, bro. Yeah. Wait, yeah. No, Josh, come on, put the shirt on, bro. Damn, put the shirt on. Yeah. Now watch us get our reservation now. Now, you got a shirt. We got the shirt now. We can get in now.
Appreciate y'all, baby. What? He don't like us. He don't give a Oh, shut up, bro. Come on, let's go, y'all. Hey, let's go, mama.
He has the shirt.
Shut up, bro. He's switch shirt.
Hey, Woo, come on. Woo, come on.
Get your ass.
Hey, come on.
Get your ass out this goddamn door.
He switched shirt. No, that's not why we're not inside. We're not inside because, hey, mama, don't get a
We got the rules.
He want to run now because he know that we followed the rules. Flick us out. They racist. Come on. Let's go. Racist. Call them, guys. Oh, we literally can't make this up.
This was not complex whatsoever. First of all, you have an unequal application of the rule, number one. Number two, you're saying that, okay, women can have on tank tops, but men cannot have on muscle shirts. He did not have on a tank top. He had on what's called a muscle shirt. Well, he traded shirts with his mom in order to appease the attire. They were making light of it. It was a switcheroo. The family is engaging each other. They're having a laugh about it. Now, they're walking back in after they have appeased the attire rule, according to that restaurant. The restaurant is called Ravenna Italian Grill and Bar in Dallas. This is considered, according to them, a dress code violation. They remedied this dress code violation. Restaurants are one public setting where Black people experience racial prejudice and discrimination. In a 2012 study on tableside racism in full-service restaurants, participants shared they experienced server negativity and discriminatory behavior. Let me bring you to some of the comments that we were able to find on TikTok. Mel P says, not a safe place for people of color, even if you have a reservation. If the manager on duty don't like how you look, you will not be allowed to eat here. My people of color, please be careful where you spend your money at. I concur and agree 100%. There's another TikTok user who said, and I quote, if they were white, this would be a funny video ending in them getting the reservation. Someone else responded, exactly. Another user also pointed out that, yeah, the reason the TikToker and her family were refused service, which she replied herself, this is that response.
Finally, somebody with some damn sense. They saw a group of black people and everybody was intimidated. Okay? Nobody was dressed hood. Nobody was acting hood. Nobody is hood. And I'm sorry for the blacks who don't want to act like they black and they never had no black experience. Baby, go on.
Big Waz?
Listen, you know, we got to give the people some real talk because this is indisputable, right? You and I both know, Doc, that within our community, there is a certain element, which is what we end up calling it, right? Like there's a certain group of people wherever they go, there's a certain amount of riffraff, right? However, people like you, people like me, people like pretty much anybody who's not a complete ignorant dummy can apply some level of discernment. It would take any reasonable person about 2 minutes to figure out that this isn't some negative element. It's just a family trying to have some grub. Like it's nothing else. Like that would take no time to discern the kinds of people who you were dealing with, just by virtue of the fact that they were like, you know what, we respect your rules. We're good, although we find them to be laughable. We're gonna actually follow your rules. Just their willingness to do that at all shows you the type of people that establishment was dealing with, yet they still decided to go forward with their racist, you know, sort of policies, and the manager was clearly just afraid of black people. That's all it was. Like this guy clearly sees all black people as one and the same, and you know, just can't figure it out.
You know, man, I probably would have been one of the riffraffs because I would not have gone a damn place. I promise you, if I was sitting down and you're telling me my muscle shirt, and listen, y'all don't want to see me in my muscle shirt. It's not a great sight. But if I'm sitting there in my damn muscle shirt because I got muscles, and you're telling me that others can wear tank tops and I can't wear a muscle shirt, I would just say unequal application of the rule, and I would stay there. Yeah, that's just me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Did everything the way you talked to her.
You're talking to the wrong family, man. But
what gives you the right to tell her?
I'm not in uniform.
A uniform does not give you the right to be racist.
Your elders, because you're disrespecting me.
You're disrespecting her.
You want to bet? When you're in America, you better learn our language.
You don't come up on somebody.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
You want to bet?
Too. Seriously? Yes, I was.
Not like
you were
us.
very racist to that woman.
No, I was not.
You should just leave.
No, you should leave and get her away from me.
I'm not leaving until you leave.
You should leave.
Just get her away from me. Roger that. It's called the First Amendment, ma'am.
He's just losing it. That's it. He's gone.
Bye.
Well, the good thing is you told me where he works, so that's the next thing I'm going to call.
God bless you. Go to church, will you? You need some prayer.
God has nothing to do with
Is
your
this like
actions.
in that show, What Do You Do?
I'll do the same.
Is there a talk show? Yeah.
Bye.
Hello.
Bye.
You're a very racist man.
You want to bet?
Why would you say that to her?
I'm a Christian, I'll tell you why.
Because you couldn't communicate
with her? Because they murdered 343 of my fellow firemen. That's why. September 11th, 2001. That's why.
That has nothing to do with her.
You want to bet?
That has nothing to do
Learn
with
English. It's America. It's not Spain. And it's not Mexico.
This is a Walmart in Nebraska. That should really explain it all. Let me give you a little more background. This TikTok video has gone viral. This is a former firefighter, according to him. This is a racist, bigoted, xenophobic rant. But the video continues. There's more.
Yeah, you should be shaken.
And
when someone doesn't speak English and we can't communicate in Los Angeles, guess what happens? Honest. People die. people go bye-bye.
He's like walking up on us and stuff.
He actually has gotten to my face.
Now you're gonna lie?
No,
I have it on camera.
Don't call her Alar. Don't call her Alar. Don't call her Alar. Who are you?
Let's just.
Are you police?
Don't worry about me.
Are you military?
Don't worry
I'm retired fire police officer.
Sir, can I have you go
And
back
I'm
and
MMA
do your
trained.
business and we'll
So
go?
you really want to go there?
Yeah, I want to.
Seriously?
I got some hands on you, homeboy.
Oh boy, howdy. You ever heard of Chuck Liddell? We train guys like that. How about Conor McGregor? Get away from me. Get the f away from me. You're talking to LA's finest, pal. I said you're talking to LA's finest. Because you don't know. Because we're in baggy clothes. But this is 200 pounds of iron. Get that guy away from me. He probably has a gang background based on those tattoos.
Aryan Brotherhood.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Let's go. God bless you anyway.
I'm doing this as a public service announcement. Please, somebody get your racist ass uncle before he get his ass kicked. This is not going to end well for him if he continues to carry on like this. There has to be one person that loves him, somebody who believes in him. There needs to be an intervention immediately. Big Waz?
The part that grinds my gears the most is when he invoked church and what I would assume is Christianity. I don't think there's any reading of the New Testament, the good news, if you will, Doc, that would imply that this is how you should treat people. This is how you should treat strangers, neighbors, etc. That's the part that really, really ground my gears. This guy invoking Christianity in his bigoted, just reckless hate speech. It's awful and despicable. It makes you wonder, man, like, why are cats so angry? Like seriously. And then he invoked 9/11. Okay, cool. You know, mind you, I lived in New York when the towers fell down. I was there. I remember the fear and the anxiety and all of that. Nobody blamed Mexico, though. I don't know where he got that one from, Doc.
Yeah, he's all over the place, right? With everything. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not going to want to lose, and he's going to run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and you know, this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's a little bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky you. Oh, you know, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are, there we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
TYT is proudly.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? And they're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Iadarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty. Guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better.
Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate, I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real.
For us, this system isn't working.
Free and fair elections. And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
Yep, welcome back. It's indisputable. Okay, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to stick around for Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. Make sure you stick for that show. It's an amazing program. Let's go to TYT members. Danielle Lebeek, hi, Dr. Richie, and Waz. It is great to see you both. As always, thank you for keeping us up to date on the truth. This comment is also from Brother Dave Schmidt. He is always listening while he is at work. We love you, Doc. I love y'all back. And Dave and I communicate quite often. A remarkable person. I know that you're working hard, brother. Mickey C., the Silver-Haired Dragon, says, I wasn't aware that our legislature designated English as the official language. I guess that idiot knows something I don't. Yeah, he does it. All right, let's go to Super Chat, YouTube. Lateef Menz. Hey, big ups to Dr. Rashad Richard Day. Thank you. Bernard the Kiwi Dragon, referencing betting multilingual racist firefighter Karen. Learn your language. Sorry, racist not spoken here. We speak tolerance, understanding, and acceptance here. Good stuff. Stoner Wolf, the food there is crap anyway. Tone Loke 3000. If I was the owner, I would wonder about the maturity of my manager flipping off customer in front of other customers, highly unprofessional. Cyber Gothica. Why Karens command people to learn English when we can't even understand a single word they say? Interesting. Insomnia Nora says, hey, Dr. Richie, I love this show. Thank you. As a white person studying, among other things, liberation theology in grad school, this show has been pretty instrumental in helping me see things that I do not generally see in generally whitewashed news cycles. Big ups to you for studying liberation theology. I've studied liberation theology as well, also Black liberation theology. 200 pounds of mental illness, says RBF Dragon. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my next story. Why do cops keep trying to kill people on the subway? I don't understand this. There's a cop who has now been charged in Chicago. Let me warn you, this video is graphic. Here it is.
Give me your hand.
I didn't do
I didn't do nothing to you. Don't see Wi-Fi, man.
I didn't do nothing to you.
I didn't do nothing to you.
7-3 bathroom.
I don't want to punch you.
7-3 bathroom.
Shoot him. No. Shoot him. No. Stop resisting. Please. Mason. Please, okay. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Shoot him. No.
Sir, put your fucking hands there. Put your fucking hand in your hand. Give him your hand. Give him your hand.
Get out. Get out.
You saw it. He was being shot running away. The officer in the middle of this, Melvina Bogard, let's put up a picture of Officer Melvina. This cop has been charged with aggravated battery and official misconduct. The person who was shot, his name is Ariel Roman, an unarmed man. We have another recording from a different point of view, correct? Okay. Here's the reality. The person was unarmed. Yes, there was a struggle, there was conflict, but the person was unarmed. The individual was running away. And you see an officer have complete disregard for human life. You mean to tell me that's the only way to apprehend a suspect? You need to attempt to kill them? This gets really interesting. This is the second officer in the Chicago Police Department to be criminally charged in a shooting this year. The superintendent, David Brown, recommended in April Bogart and her partner, Bernard Butler, be fired from the Chicago Police Department for their roles in the shooting. Let me put up a picture of the victim, Mr. Roman. This is Mr. Roman. Mr. Roman is still alive right now. Thank God. He's still living. Here are some details of the incident. This happened February 28th, 2020. Ariel Roman was traveling through the downtown area on a northbound Red Line train. As the train exited the loop into River North, he walked from car to car. That's what he did, ladies and gentlemen. He walked from car to car, which is a city ordinance violation. Okay? Roman's attorneys said he was diagnosed with anxiety in 2019, and he moved about the train in an effort to calm his nerves. Roman was also carrying a backpack that contained an illegal amount of marijuana, according to the police. Remember, the prerequisite for the engagement was a city ordinance violation. He gets shot over that. Let's say they even were aware of the marijuana. You get shot over that. You can die because of that. There's more. When Roman exited the train at the Grand Station, the two cops followed and confronted him near the foot of the escalator on the station platform. You see it pick up from there. Bogart and Butler, who were already assigned to the CPD's mass transit unit, tried to place Roman under arrest, but he resisted. As the officers struggled to place him into custody, a passerby recorded the interaction on his cell phone. And you saw it for yourself. Now, granted, if you have an unfortunate interaction with a cop, there still has to be at least a fundamental principle of your human life. You should never be shot and killed just because you had an interaction like that with the police. That should never happen. Never. Big Waz, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, these cops, I mean, you hear it on the video where the guy's just screaming, shoot him.
Yeah.
How can that be part of what the job is there? This gentleman, I feel like, you know, obviously we weren't there that day, but just from watching the video, he seemed to be in a mood, right? Like something was happening with the gentleman in his mental space. So obviously it didn't seem like he was of the soundest mind. And the cops should have been able to sense that. I don't think the answer to dealing with that is shooting the guy in the back, in the leg, in the stomach, etc. And I always ask myself in these situations, like, all right, if that guy gets away, who's harmed in that? Like, what's the public cost of this dude not being apprehended or not getting the ticket or whatever? What's the cost to that guy, you know, sort of getting away from the cops? I don't understand why they treat this like it's some imperative, as if he's about to go out and murder 1,000 people. Like, all he's going to do is get out of a ticket. Who cares? Why should you have to shoot him for that?
Right. Why the gun violence? All right, it's gun violence. I know they're the police, but that's still gun violence. And now it is contextualized and categorized as gun violence because this cop has now been charged with an actual criminal offense. All right, Big Waz, brother, I appreciate you every time you're on Indisputable. Tell people how they can follow you, check out all of your great work.
Yeah, please just follow me at BIGWOS on every single social media platform. Follow my work at The Ringer, where I cover the NBA. So please go check that out. And of course, Woznia on the TYT Twitch network every Tuesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to get more political takes, me and TYT contributor Nando Vila, we do a podcast called The Woke Bros, where we break down politics from, a working class perspective. Shouts to you, Dr. Richie. Shouts to Alex, the whole crew. I'm always here when you call.
Man, and we appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you for all you do, big homie.
Of course. Peace.
All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. No, we'll see. Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
D'Emilio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. So you know the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast?
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good boss.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always change this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
All right, welcome back. Let's read some of these amazing viewer comments. Biden Flavor Corn Pop, I love that name, by the way, says, look at her, brainwashed in that slave system. She can't see herself taking away the human rights of another person. They've been allowed to shoot since the glory of qualified immunity dawned on cops a few years after 1967. Don't forget, we saw on TYT Main Show one police job offer telling candidates point blank qualified immunity was a benefit. Yep. Worst case scenario, Dragon says, oh my God, I knew it. Mentally ill people are the group that gets beat and killed by the cops more than anyone. Statistics bear that out. Yes. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, while it's great that the DOJ is investigating that police department for abuse of power, it's sad that there aren't nearly enough investigators to look into every police department in this country, because that is what's needed. Agreed. How many departments have been outed for social media groups, that spew hate and violence? How many of those cops and departments were investigated? Very good point. Super chat. Sir Smoke It Right 74 says, no excuses for the police systematic bad behavior, but is there any way of finding out the number of black cops getting charged versus white cops getting charged with crimes and or doing crimes? Not sure, but I definitely look into it. TW, we have to decide our local elections. We have to all show up in those racist little towns and cities to make sure they stop this bull with the police and injustices. We have to vote local elections. That's right. Dan Marquez, I think it would be awesome if Dr. Ritchie interviewed Dr. Tuttle on the subject of the World Peace Diet. Okay, I have to look into that. Okay, Jax Drax, cops probably think, why just apprehend a suspect when I can kill them instead? Killing citizens is a sport for the police. Well, it's starting to look like that, isn't it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, at some point in the near future, I'm going to have you vote on the most outrageous bullpen debate. Here is my throwback with one of my top most outrageous bullpen debates. Here it is.
Do you believe that January 6th was a hoax?
Yes, 100%.
You tweeted something, but let me just remind people of what you tweeted. You tweeted on January 8th that January 6th was a hoax. That was your exact quote.
Yeah.
You also retweeted Marjorie Taylor Greene that said January 6th defendants are being mistreated in jail while awaiting trial.
That's right.
Being held in solitary confinement is cruel mental abuse and is a violation of these defendants' rights. So when you say it was a hoax, explain that.
I'm saying that it was a setup. There's clear indicators that the Capitol Police brought people in, and many of these people had brand new. Hey, look, you know what? I challenge you. Go watch Jaden X. Go watch John Sullivan's entire unedited video of January 6th and get back to me.
No.
Yes.
What you're saying is silly as hell. So you're saying that police officers coordinated the Capitol insurrection. That's what you're saying. Cops did.
It's not an insurrection. You can't have an unarmed insurrection.
It was a terrorist attack. You can have an unarmed terrorist attack.
You can say whatever you want, but that's
but you can't have an unarmed terrorist attack. You can't. We prosecuted people who were not armed but committed acts of terror.
Yeah, box cutters, 9/11. Yeah.
So number one, you're wrong with the assessment about weapons. There were weapons recovered, as well as makeshift bombs. They also took flagpoles and made them weapons. So weapons were there, and people weaponized other items during that insurrection. So if the prerequisite to the definition of insurrection is to have a weapon, weapons were there, weapons were found, and weapons have been lost.
Why don't you walk through, why don't you put, for your viewers, put up the top 25 people who are the most, Jake Angeli, John Sullivan, go through everybody in there and go look at their backgrounds. These are people who were placed with brand new Trump gear in there. I'm telling you, 100%.
Oh, man, let me say this, man. Michael, hold on, brother.
We'll get to the bottom of it. That was one place where I differed from the Republicans in saying we don't need a commission on January 6th, because we do need a commission on January 6th.
Okay, all right. So that almost makes common sense what you just said. So I agree with you on that. I agree with you that we do need a commission to investigate what happened January 6th.
Yep.
I completely think you're loony when you say things like Capitol Police brought in these insurrectionists. I think that's ridiculous. But let me ask you, man, do you really believe that the folks who stormed the Capitol were not, in fact, Trump supporters?
I think some legitimate patriots got caught up in the fervor of, hey, let's go into the Capitol. But I think it was fundamentally.
Explain to me what that means, legitimate patriots who are committing crimes.
No, I mean, look, going to a part of the Smithsonian that's cordoned off.
That's not what they did.
It's trespassing.
That's not what they did, brother. They didn't just go to a part of the Smithsonian that was roped off.
So focused on January 6th, why don't you tell me who the Capitol Police officer was who shot supposedly Ashley Babbitt?
My man. You know why I'm focused on January 6th?
A lot of things. Stop.
Michael, you know why? Do you know why I'm focused on January 6th? Because it was your ass that put it on Twitter. That's why you put it on Twitter and you said it was a hoax. But you actually have people that have been injured and are dead. Michael, think about this.
Question about civil liberties. Do you think that Amazon should have given the phone records through pinpoint of every single person who traveled from their home state to the Capitol that weekend, whether they were anywhere near the Capitol or not? And some of those people are being canceled and threatened from their jobs. Do you think that is the American civil?
This is unbelievable. You know, let me say this, Michael, and I just got to be honest, man.
Come on,
Michael, listen to me, brother. This has been a complete waste of my time. Having you on my show has been a complete waste of my time.
That's weird. I appreciate you just said it was a really interesting conversation.
You're arguing from a point like I have never seen the Kool-Aid so deep in an individual before. Never.
Out your mind, dude.
You're to the right of the most extremist person I've ever met in my life.
Who's the most extremist person you ever met in your life?
I've met Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay.
Yeah, I've met her.
Yeah, I think she's doing a pretty good job.
I know you do. Of course you do.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can't dismiss me for being somebody who's championing these guys. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I dismiss the ideas that you present as legitimate. That's all I dismiss, brother.
Okay. Well, I'm curious to where your line in the sand on finding the truth on January 6th is.
Well, here's where my line in the sand is.
Beautiful.
Let's debate that.
I'm pretty sure that you're going to be eating crow when all of these audits, starting in Arizona, it's coming to your state. I believe you're in Georgia. It's coming to your state. It's going to Pennsylvania.
Let me ask you this on a more.
These guys are all going down
on a more common sense level. Okay, that's your opinion. Let me ask you this. Here's the one part we agree with. There should be an exhaustive investigation into what happened on January 6th. And you can't argue that the way it was structured would not have been bipartisan. You got 10 Democrats, you got 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans appointed to a 10-person committee. I think that's as bipartisan as it gets. But Republicans are the ones who said no. The party that you registered under when you ran for Congress, that party said, we do not want to look into what happened on January 6th. But they looked into Benghazi, they looked into the 9/11 Commission, they've looked into Hillary Clinton's emails, but they refused to look into what happened on January 6th. Why?
Because we have a lot of rhinos inside the Republican Party who the real battle right now is between the common man and the establishment. The reason why you saw the fervor for Bernie Sanders is because he's outside. Even though he has got progressive ideas, he's outside the establishment. In the Republican Party, we have people like, I don't know, Kemp. I don't know who paid off Kemp.
Who paid off McConnell? Because McConnell is the one who killed our ability to investigate January 6th. Let me ask you this. You said you got a lot of rhinos, Republican in name only. Which Republican or what Republicans supported investigating January 6th through this commission?
Yeah, that's all available to you. The key indicator are the people who quickly capitulated after the election on November 3rd. Quickly capitulated, said, okay, let's move on.
All
That's
right.
a very strong indicator. The ones that are still fighting, I haven't.
But I'm asking you the question of which Republicans do you support that supported the January 6th commission to investigate what happened on January 6th? Real simple question, Michael.
No, I'm just saying in spirit. I'm not going through and saying you can look that up. They're putting themselves on the record.
Which ones?
Look that up. I'm not here to say okay.
Which ones are saying we should create the commission? Which ones?
That's public. You're here for my opinion. That's publicly available factual information.
All right. It seems like if that was so important to you, you would know the Republicans that support your agenda to investigate January 6th.
But Michael, the commission, look, January 6th was an outcropping of the fact that Mike Pence didn't do his job. His job, the reason why we have a constitutional crisis is because the state legislators were bullied into making changes. And now we're complaining about voting rights when we have 17 days of early voting in all these states. It's nonsense. There's no limited access to voting. And this was a bully play.
Let me give you some facts about voting. Let me give you some facts about the actual bill itself. So let's go to Senate Bill 202, which is your Georgia restrictive voting bill. Here's what it does. Here's the restriction it creates.
Is it restrictive as New York's? Who are the people? Who are the big corporations who have pulled out of New York?
Okay, so I'm talking about Senate Bill 202. Michael, I'm talking about Senate Bill 202. And let me explain to you and everyone who's watching where the restrictions came in, since you think there were no restrictions in these state bills. Not only did it make it an actual crime to hand someone food or water without them campaigning whatsoever, it made it a misdemeanor offense, punishable by 1 year in jail. You as a person that's damn near libertarian, if not all the way libertarian, should appreciate the fact that we don't need extra laws on the book to regulate something that's already regulated. It is already illegal to electioneer on the precinct ground. That's already against the law. You don't need to also make it against the law to not be involved in electioneering and to hand somebody water. So I think you and I would agree that should not have been part of Senate Bill 202. Beyond that, another restriction that it created is it de facto eliminated Sunday voting. Souls to the polls, utilized primarily by black churches on Sunday. It was a ministry and civil engagement operation. But the Senate bill said you got to do one or the other, either Saturday or Sunday, rather than allowing Saturday and Sunday to be decided by each county. Also, it takes away the ability of the local Board of Elections director to oversee campaigns if the state legislature decides to appoint their own superintendent. I thought Republicans were for localized government and less government intrusion. However, that bill specifically creates government intrusion, takes away local control from the 159 counties in Georgia under Senate Bill 202. Those things have got to disturb you as a libertarian-like individual.
You know what disturbs me? HR 1 and CTCL and Zuckerberg's play. Where do you stand on those? Because I want to find common ground.
HR 1, I'm for it 100%. I think it's necessary to pass. What element of HR 1 are you against?
You want the mail-in ballot fiasco we had so that we can further undermine our elections?
How many people, what was the percentage of election fraud in the mail-in balloting system?
Well, that would require an actual examination of the fraud, wouldn't it?
That would require you actually looking at a fact or two. You are correct.
All right, and how do you feel about Zuckerberg spending 400 million on ballot drop boxes in Pennsylvania? You like that?
Yeah, I'm fine. As long as the drop boxes are certified by that county and that local government is able to secure those votes, those are American citizens voting and utilizing the convenience of a location in order to express their constitutional right in democracy. I'm good with it.
So you're anti-voter ID too, I take it.
Yeah, you know why I'm anti-voter ID? Fundamentally, you know why?
Why?
You ever ask somebody why? Do you believe voting is a right, Michael?
Yeah.
You do believe it's a right?
Yeah.
Explain this to me. In the United States, in most states, you can legally purchase a gun from a private owner without showing your ID.
They've changed that, not here.
Jess, I got you, but in most states, let me provide the context. Because we have deemed having a firearm is in fact a right. And you don't have to show the ID in order to purchase. from a private gun seller. Also,
hey doctor, you ever gone bowling?
Oh, wait a minute, Michael, don't do that, brother.
You ever gone bowling?
Michael.
You ever gone bowling?
Michael, are you going to let me finish?
You get the $4 rental of bowling shoes. You got to have an ID. You leave the ID at the front.
Are you finished?
You need an ID.
Okay.
Look,
I'm going to go ahead. Cut his microphone. I'm going to go to make my point because there are some people that actually care about the truth. Cut his mic.
Requiring people not have ID.
Okay. Here's the reality. The reality is this. Every right that you have, your freedom of speech, your right to assemble, all of these rights do not require you to utilize your ID in order to exercise it. None of the rights require that. All of a sudden, you must present your ID in order to exercise your right to vote, when you do not need your ID to exercise any other right. The irony behind that is this: 20 years ago, nobody can hear you, brother, I cut your mic. 20 years ago, nobody in the United States of America had to produce an ID in order to exercise their right to vote. Nobody. It was a trick launched by the Republican Party in order to start massaging who voted, to start limiting who engaged in that process. All right, Michael, are you there? We can bring you back now. All right, let's unmute Michael. Let's unmute Michael. Michael, unmute yourself, brother. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
You muted me. I got to unmute myself.
Yeah, so I don't know why it works like that, man. But once again, go ahead. I'll let you get the final word. The show is about over.
All right. Well, look, the reason for having to show an ID is because the system gets abused if you don't. The system gets abused. One person, one vote. One person, one vote. It's fair. You need an ID for anything else. There's simply no logical argument.
You don't need an ID for every other right, brother. Quite the contrary. And remember, there's no statistical significance of voter fraud in order to warrant the constitutional intrusion of telling me I must present an ID in order to exercise my constitutional right. I appreciate you.
During the 2016 election, I had 4 Uber drivers who told me they were voting here in California, and then they were driving in Nevada to vote there.
Hey, man.
You know why that's possible?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to show an ID, and you don't have to show where you live. So I'm telling you, you're peddling nonsense if you're telling me that.
Michael, I cannot believe you would say anybody on this planet is peddling nonsense, sir. Come on, man.
There you go. You want my perspective? You got it.
Yeah, I damn sure did. We all got your perspective, brother. And I appreciate you for at least standing up for what you believe in, even if it is bat-ish crazy. I appreciate you being on Indisputable. Thank you, man.
Talk to you next year.